Welcome, friends. So today's video is a reflection point video. And if you're wondering, what is a reflection point? Essentially, it's my new fun way of seeing and perceiving the world. And essentially, reflection points are things in our world that we may or may not recognize as reflections of who we are, what this all is, and why we're here. So these reflection points essentially are opportunities, entry points into remembering. So today's reflection point video is about the belly button. We talk about the belly button and the umbilical cord. Because have you ever wondered, why do I have a belly button? It really doesn't serve a function outside of utero. And in utero, the belly button is where the umbilical cord is connected to us and our source of life, the person carrying us in their womb. So our belly button is a direct point of connection to our source of life in utero, which helps us grow and develop into who we are as humans. It also helps in terms of the umbilical cord, right? It delivers all the nutrients and oxygen. It also helps to remove what isn't needed. So you might be picking up what I'm putting down here. Essentially, the belly button is a remembrance, a reflection point of our connection to source. And now you can insert whatever word you want for source. You don't even have to use a word. You can just insert a feeling, an essence, a sound, a vibration, a smell, an image, whatever resonates for you. There is no right or wrong. The belly button is a reflection of our connection to source. Insert whatever, there isn't a word. Insert whatever works for you, whatever that may be in terms of understanding in a sense of knowing, not an understanding of thinking. Pepper agrees. So it's our connection point. And so what I find really interesting, so I worked, I guess I don't see clients anymore professionally in my private practice with eating disorders and disordered, as I like to say, disharmonious eating, intuitive eating. And I know in my experience on my own journey, with body image, the stomach was the hardest part. And there was a lot of avoidance of that area. For many, 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 many of my clients, I don't want to say all, their stomach was a point of avoidance. And if you think about our society, the midsection is oftentimes the area of the body that I would say the majority of people, at least, I mean, I can only speak for my experience, but living in America, so many people have an avoidance of their midsection. And that is the exact location of the reflection point that we are connected to source. And if you think about it, as we were connected to source, as we are connected to source, as we are source, the belly button is a reminder that that frequency, that energy is us. It is not separate from us. And you can take this in whatever way resonates for you, at whatever level or layer it resonates. Also knowing it doesn't have to resonate, but if you are still watching, it probably does in some level. So I find it interesting that in our society, there's a lot of avoidance, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of judging, a lot of separation, a lot of othering, a lot of hate around the midsection. And you'll notice there are these times in which the midsection is very fashionable to show. So it's interesting, right? We have this push-pull of hiding, showing, all of these opportunities to reconnect with our relationship with our belly button in maybe a new way. So in that, I think society's relationship to the belly button is thereby even a deeper level or layer of this reflection point. There's a lot of layers there if you sit with it. What I find really interesting as well is that in the chakra system, the power center is the solar plexus or navel chakra. And at least in my lineage, which is more tantric based, the solar plexus chakra, navel chakra, resides behind the navel. So our power center is the exact location of the reflection point that we are connected to source and that we are source. The solar plexus chakra, the navel chakra, I have a lot of content around it. You're more than welcome to check it out. You can check out a free lesson here, and then I'll link some other videos in the description. And so it's interesting that the solar plexus chakra and navel chakra is our power center. This is where we find our individuation, our authenticity, our sense of self, our ego. And this is also where, if you've looked into the journey of enlightenment, not in that heavy charged way, but just realization of who and what you are, there's a transmutation and transformation, which is also a quality of the solar plexus chakra, transformation, of the ego self, right? The personality structure, the self that thinks, I might just say, the self that is conditioned, is programmed, the self that we are often trying to change. It is transmutated, it is transformed to allow who we truly are to then be expressed out into the world as who we are. To allow our own unique frequency, vibration, energy, essence, presence shine. What's coming to me right now is how many people are trying to let their light shine, and how many people say that people are dimming their light. And what's also interesting is that the element of this chakra is fire. So this is just another reflection point in reflection point, because an understanding of mine is also how interconnected everything is between the macro and the micro. It's all interconnected. It's not separate. And so you can look at that in many, many different ways. And the more ways you look at it, the more it begins to unravel and reveal truth. I think Pepper made a sound when I said that. I said truth. So the belly button. The belly button is a reflection point of who we are and what we are. We are source. We are connected to source. And if you think about the idea that in utero, we're at form, right? We're cells combining into create form. So we're not really in this physical world. In the utero, it's almost like this different dimensionality of existence. And so it's interesting that there is a form of an umbilical cord. That connection point is in form, physical form. And then when we are birthed, someone cuts the umbilical cord off of us because we don't need it at that time, and because part of our journey here is the act of remembering, or the art of remembering, or just simply remembering. And I think it's also a really interesting reflection point how so many people are looking outside of themselves. If you think about the idea that someone cuts us off, it's almost like, wait, help me, please help me remember. But the key is, it's within you. And again, the belly button is a reflection point of that. Now, it's also interesting, get back to my original point, is that the umbilical cord is in form, and yet it is more energetic in nature when we are out in the physical world. This particular dimensionality of existence. that our consciousness is attuned to, because all dimensions are existing. It's just, this is what we are attuned to for a particular reason and experience. And that's a whole other conversation. But essentially, it's interesting how people talk about, say, out-of-body experiences. And I've never experienced that yet, that I know of, that I remember. And I've never had a direct understanding or teaching or experience with this idea of a silvery thread connecting our soul to our body. And many people also do cord cutting, cutting off cords between other souls and connections and contracts. And so it's interesting when we have that understanding of these cords connecting us. And many people talk about, well, I know my first introduction was through Dolores Cannon, was that the tapestry of life, of all the souls, were all these interconnected threads, cords, umbilical cord, you see? So when you start getting curious, which is why I always talk about getting curious, which is why I end all my videos with, until next time, friends, stay curious, which didn't dawn on me the significance when it just sort of came out. And I knew to keep it. I knew it was something, and it's still unraveling and revealing itself, unfolding into the significance of that. And I'm going to talk about that in another video, about understanding expansion of consciousness, and that will also help it to resonate maybe in a different way. But yeah, when you start getting curious around this, it can take you down a lot of different rabbit holes. You start pulling on different threads which help connect you to the tapestry of what is. And again, seeing and understanding it is going to make sense in a particular way for you. And so finding that way or those ways is really important. And so if you hear something from someone and it resonates at a particular level, but yet doesn't fully land, explore the essence of what resonated for you. Try not to think about it, just feel into it, and then explore it, and then see what arises, because you may get an image, you may get a feeling, you may get a word, you may get a sound, you may just get this sense that you can't really even put words to, but that will help you move into that entry point, that pathway for you. And so I'm feeling as though that is complete. That is where I will end today. And as I just said before, the very important message that will help with this reflection points and your journey, if it resonates, is until next time, friends, stay curious.